Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Overwatch League and welcome to the lower bracket finals here at our grand finals presented by IBM. For two teams, this is going to be all coming down to this. One team going to be going home early, potentially now, as their season is on the line. The other one, a chance at glory. The lower bracket finals are going to be deciding the winner, and the winner obviously going forwards into the grand finals. My name is Brendan Hook. I'm joined by Joshua Sideshow Wilkinson as always, and it is our absolute pleasure to be bringing you all the action here today.
Yeah, this game, it's gonna be fantastic. I mean, both of these teams went to map 5 against the Shock. Both of these teams, the last time they played each other, went to map 5. If it's anything other than a map 5 spectacle, then we, the fans of the game, I'm speaking purely as a fan right now, we've been robbed, because it promises to be excellent.
Before we get into that, of course, as well, a special thank you to Coke Energy as well. And thank you to all the fans who participated in the Coke Energy Hour. It has gone past 5:30 a.m. I can see the sun rising as I speak. And thank you very much again for participating in that one. And Coke Energy is going to be keeping me up as well for this lower bracket finals that we're about to witness here, Josh, between these two teams.
Yeah, I don't need any Coke Energy, though, to be honest, because the pure adrenaline is rushing through my system. Just knowing that we've got this rematch, it's so good. Let's take a look at the bracket, though, and see how we got here, because neither of these teams have faced each other so far in the grand finals presented by IBM. Instead, they've both had to go at various times through the San Francisco Shock.
That's right, yeah, and it has been a back and forth over the course of this season between these two teams, but you know, these teams had to go through the San Francisco Shock and they looked like the dominant team. Obviously, the Shock already in the grand finals, whereas both of these teams now are their own obstacles as they're looking to best one another and make it further forward, at least to that final stretch, if you will, just before they get there. It's going to be an amazing match that we have here.
I want to take a look at Lip, though, specifically, because he's a player that has stepped up in an unconventional way in our finals. We know that he is arguably the best Sombra in the world, but what people underrate a little bit is his insane hit scan and Hanzo prowess. And he has come in, specifically in their most recent game against the Shock, and he put Fleta onto the bench in order to come in and play the Hanzo to, I would argue, a higher individual level than even our regular season MVP. And with Lip and Diem playing alongside each other, that is a double sniper duo like you've never seen before. This is a monstrous level of individual talent, and even though the stats would say that Diem was carrying the game towards the end, it was a truly spectacular performance from Lip too. But he is going to be going up against Prophet, and Bren, I don't think we need to tell the fans at home how real the Prophet playoff spike is. He has just been a god during the playoffs in every single year, but it's come true again in 2020.
Yeah, and you got to remember as well, Lip, who's going up against Prophet here, it is really the rookie versus the veteran. And the narrative that we go across, it sounds like a joke at times, you know, talking about Prophet and Gesture, how they always turn up at playoffs, but it is coming true before our very eyes. We almost spoke it into existence, I think, as far as narratives go, because Prophet has been on another bloody level. The play and performance that he's putting up is absurd. I didn't think he was capable of playing at this level once again, but here we have it. It's almost mirroring his kind of play that it was back in 2018 when they went on that absolute tear when he was playing for the London Spitfire. And now, again, you're looking at this match here, and if you look at the course of the entirety of this season, of course, you would have to say, well, the Shanghai obviously would be the favorites. But the way that the Seoul Dynasty have just been heating up over the course of this playoff run, it's honestly anyone's game currently.
Yeah. It totally is. I would not be surprised if the Seoul Dynasty came away and won it. They say that once you've won a championship, you might be less hungry to win another. Or Prophet is coming out here, and he is absolutely ravenous. The Seoul Dynasty look like they want their players, Gesture and Prophet in particular, to win another championship right here, right now. And Prophet, playing like he is currently, is on track to be able to drag his team towards another championship, another trophy to add to his cabinet. Gesture and Prophet are some of the most winningest players that we have in Overwatch history, making like GOAT status kind of arguments, especially Prophet. And he is coming out and just slaughtering competition once again here.
Yeah, if they keep this momentum going, it's going to be astounding. But it's time to get this game underway. So let's introduce our first team in the mix. Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the Seoul Dynasty.
Not only do they sport the GOAT candidate Prophet on their roster, who is once again showcasing why he's in that conversation, but Gesture's Roadhog has just been something beautiful to watch. He's so swaggy in the way that he plays it. It fits his personality so well. He just goes out there, puts himself in risky positions, but his individual skill is so damn high. He just hits every hook, it seems, hits every shot, every right click, and then even if he doesn't, the rest of his team baits him for the kills anyway. It's such a beautiful system, and it's so fun to watch.
But our opposition is going to be one hell of a match for them. Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the Shanghai Dragons.
This team has been dominant all throughout APAC this year, and if there has been any rivalry, perhaps it was with Seoul. But no team in APAC has been able to match the level of dominance that the Dragons have. They looked at times to be clearly the best team in the league, NA or APAC, just across the board. The level of individual power on this roster cannot be overstated. Role stars across the board. And look at this, Brent. Lip and Diem in for our first map, which is going to be Bdosin. That means that they have cycled this trio of DPS talents in every possible way now. We haven't seen Diem and Lip play on Bdosin so far in our grand finals presented by IBM. This is going to be our first time, but this offers the double sniper potential. It's the only way that you can match Prophet and Fitz is by having Lip and Diem play together.
I think a lot of Shanghai Dragons fans as well are going to be looking at this and maybe saying, you know, where is Fleta, obviously your MVP of the 2020 season presented by T-Mobile, it's a fair question to ask, but as it stands, Lip and Diem, it seems like this is the kind of DPS that you want to settle on. Traditionally, Shanghai Dragons were relying on Lip to bring the Sombra speciality, but now they are mainly leaning into this double sniper, and Lip has been performing up to such a high level. It's why we led the introduction of this match talking about his Hanzo gameplay across the board now, and he's going to be up against a lot of firepower on the side of Seoul Dynasty, as we've gone on and on and on about.
The Shanghai Dragons should be your favorites coming into this match. They recently beat the Seoul Dynasty in 5. They've been dominant throughout the entire year, but Seoul are the more dangerous team, I would say. If you allow them to get rolling, if you allow their momentum to go and Prophet to get comfortable, they have a very strong chance of being able to take this series. So for Shanghai, it's important to start strong here. The control map is where Seoul Dynasty could be at their most potent, so an early win would be phenomenal. And Lip, I was not expecting this. I thought we were coming out with double sniper immediately, but he wants to put the Sombra in the mix. This would normally be Fleta on the Tracer, but instead now, Lip on his world-class Sombra.
Every possibility they know what's going on, but early on, Diem, okay, 2 quick shots, make it a 3rd. You have got to be kidding me. The 4 kills to open it up from Diem. That is monstrous. What a beginning to this series. If we're going to be getting this all day long, I'm all here for it.
Yeah, that is spectacular. You've got to put respect on Diem's name. And I think now the fans worldwide are starting to realize what a talent Diem is. His team was losing when they played him in the regular season, but not because of him. His individual skill is on par with the absolute best in the league, and he showcased that right there.
It's given Shanghai a bit of an early lead, but a quick hook from Gesture, pulling him to the side. Void will even it out with the accretion. The Resurrect will be able to come off here, so stand one in position once more to really take a lot of space. And another quick and easy teamfight win now for the Shanghai Dragons. And losing this first teamfight as well, Josh, so brutal for the Seoul Dynasty, because it means that Lip, now with this EMP, it's a lock instantly for another teamfight win, or at least it should be.
Yeah, you get that onto the tanks, that is, or at least should be, a guaranteed teamfight win. Stand one and Void will just do way too much damage in the middle of that fight. We'll see if Lip gears up for a hit. Ideally, Shanghai want to bleed as much time as they can off the clock. So the later and the longer that Lip can hold on to this, the better.
Prophet's going to be using Bob, as you can see, just to contest the point up. They are going to get the flip off as well. Shanghai opting to just give up the space and just let them have it. And they end up punishing Marvel instead, just pressuring that and taking up as much space as they can. Lip now going to get the spot and the hack off onto Prophet. Will they ever take him out? He does kill Lip before backing off, but it seems like the teamfight win is already in Shanghai's sights, because off the back of DM's quick shooting, It's made quite easy.
Diem is on fire. Yeah, absolutely on fire. He got 3 kills in that fight as well. The guy cannot be stopped, and Lip has been able to hold on to his EMP in the middle of this engagement. By the way, Brent, Diem is playing into 2 snipers here. He's playing into a Widow and an Ashe. He has to be wary of so many sightlines, and he's still just hitting every headshot that's presented.
And this is what you need to be playing like, I think, to shut down the Seoul Dynasty's DPS line. The fight continues, though, as ults are going to start to be coming out. Lip's looking for an opportunity to backstab them. But it was Fitz who claimed the first kill, as Izayaki has fallen early on. A lack of heals now, potentially. But it won't stop them as the Resurrect comes through. LeeJaeGon managing to get that one off, but Marvel comes through clutch once more. 3 kills for him. It should be a nice teamfight win for the Seoul Dynasty. Tobi has the Resurrect available. Position to really get it off, though. He's going to opt for it. A bit risky, actually, with Profit being that low, but they do get it off, so it's a big swing of momentum now. They don't have to wait for that tank to roll back into the fight. They can try and hold back onto it now, as they have once again positioning.
But this is where they're relying on those 2 snipers, Profit Fitz, and then Gesture as well. They cannot allow this kind of stuff to happen. Tobi's res, I think, is still on cooldown, so that's going to mean a massive advantage. Gesture, he gets bionaded.
And just like that, I mean, 91% in counting. This might just be over, this round. Potentially trying to bring down Marvel. They do get it in the end. And Profit's got to come up big now. He does take out LeeJaeGon, which is a great start for them. And Fitz opting back now onto the high ground. 1 kill for him. Profit follows it up with the second to make it a third. Everything being applied to him. They're still in control of this fight, and they've managed to wrangle it back off the back of these pickoffs. You can't count the snipers out.
No, that's nasty good performance, especially from Profit there, actually. And Gesture, he was thinking about making a swap, thought it would be desperation time, but Profit and Fitz have got the save there. And this now is final fight territory. Lip with an EMP. He is the big playmaker here, but Profit, Fitz, or Gesture could get a pick at any point and render it useless.
So hard for Diem to try and get anything done. As you said, Josh is playing into these 2 angles. The walls comes through from Diem, the EMP as well. Can I get any sort of kill? Luke comes through, but he don't touch the point! A critical error from the Shanghai Dragons early on in this series. And the Seoul Dynasty are going to be leading 1-0. Now, the way that teamfight was going, it was still anyone's game, but this tends to happen at the highest level of Overwatch. The reason you see these pro players sometimes avoid the objective is because they're looking for the exact timing, the 0.1 second timing to jump back onto the objective. Every single second of time counts. And these pro players, they really try and stretch it out to the fullest. Unfortunately, mistakes like that happen off the back of it. And now the Shanghai Dragons are on the back foot immediately as this series begins.
I gotta say, Brent, they didn't get too much value out of Lip Sombra. There was essentially just that 1 EMP towards the end. The other one was wasted in the middle of the round. And they didn't even get the kill on Marvel, and they C9'd. So now Lip moves over to the Ashe, and it's Lip versus Profit. This is an unusual Ashe head-to-head, to be honest. I don't know who would really have the edge, but Diem has... my money is always on that guy. Oh, and he delivers immediately as well.
Yeah, it's going to mean the instant res is burned, but Tobi does get his player back into the field, so they still stand a chance when it comes to these sniper matchups. Look at the positioning now as Shanghai. It's taking a wide berth all the way around, seeing if they can loop around, catch out some of these players. It's a hard ask for them. But Shanghai have a lot of mobility with their comp, especially with stand 1 on the Wrecking Ball. You can see him causing all sorts of damage, and Diem, with the help of the Discord Orb, Marvel is no more. Removing 1 more tank means it'll be, again, an early flip over now for the Shanghai Dragons, or an early capture. Here's Izayaki, just flexing for the kill feed, why not?
Yeah, and look at, here's a compositional difference. It's something that Philly were getting crucified by their fans for, running the hog, running the Wrecking Ball instead of the hog, not going for the mirror matchup. But that's something that Shanghai and Shock both do. They run Wrecking Ball Sigma when it comes to this round of Bdosin in order to put more pressure onto the enemy snipers and offer up more room for Diem, for Lip to be able to do their work, and just have Void kind of playing the objective. It does mean that Gesture has room to go on flanks and get picks. But as long as you can maneuver away from him, you're pretty good.
It really signifies that you have immense faith in your sniper line, I think, to get the picks necessary with the space that's being created.
Definitely.
It's not necessarily completely risk-free as well. As you see, stand 1 has to be careful. He can't get hooked or crescented or anything like that. But when the space is given, I mean, Shanghai are not going to be letting it go away for free. 2 pickoffs immediately. Stand 1 falling so low here. Gesture does get 1 turn around as he does take out Void, which could be the beginning of a good start, but ultimately this feels like it is just being a strung out team fight. And now Gesture, I mean, resources were committed. I believe the nano boost is applied to him, but not enough. With the damage boost in the Discord Orb, he just gets obliterated on the sidelines. And the kill he got wasn't even any good. The resurrect from LeeJaeGon brought him immediately back. So Izayaki still alive to provide that damage boost with the Discord Orb.
And that's the important part. You have to be aware of where Gesture is, and then the picks that they get, they don't have map control anyway, because Stan 1 and Void are denying them that map control, so the resurrects can always come out. And this is Shanghai having a beautiful idea of how the Seoul Dynasty play. Something that Jonathan was talking about during the desk segment, actually, is just that Shanghai can completely counter Seoul Dynasty. They only play one style. It's a nice pick from Fitz, but at the end of the day, Shanghai, they're still in control of the point.
Yep, they certainly are, 99% to 0. The whole hog's going to be coming through here from Gesture as he tries to get anything done, but not possible. LeeJaeGon with 2 is whipped out the pistol, going straight down the ends. Oh my goodness. Or would be finding a couple of pickoffs, a last-ditch bob, but it won't be enough, surely, as the overtime starts to burn down, and it's going to be 1-1 now. The Shanghai Dragons at 100 to 0. A quick answer back after that scrappy and a little bit embarrassing first initial round.
And that's how you play the Wrecking Ball into the Roadhog. You can clearly see here that Shanghai Dragons have a great understanding of how the Seoul Dynasty want to play and how to counter it. It's not a direct compositional hard counter. It's in the way that they play. It's in the style, the positioning that they take on the map to render Gesture essentially useless here.
Yeah.
And LeeJaeGon, I mean, no one else in the world would do that, would they? Just styling on them. Let's take a look at this replay here, because it's just so beautiful to watch. He was criticized as well by the fans for feeding a little bit in their opening game against the San Francisco Shock, but the guy just goes for these kind of plays all the time, and I gotta love it. I mean, it's so stylish.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of Neptuno, actually, as well. I mean, it's a label we apply to him, the Battle Mercy, I suppose. Going in for those aggressive pistol plays, but it definitely is right up LeeJaeGon's alley, the way he likes to play that main support role, so aggressive at times. But a new round now, a new opportunity for either side. It's 1-1, right down to the wire here, map number 1 of this lower bracket finals.
And take a look at this, Brent. Prophet has moved over to the Tracer, so now he's decided they can't win the Sniper head-to-head. Instead, he's going to take task into his own hands. He's killed both of them. It's single-handedly, essentially. And now killed Izayaki. 3 kills in the fight already for the Tracer god of Prophet. There aren't many players that can do that kind of stuff. We saw it from Striker earlier on in the Grand Finals, but Prophet is one of the only other players that can produce stuff like this. He's taken the match into his own hands now.
Trying to really reclaim kind of the title, I think, of GOAT. Early on in Overwatch, he was known for that, his prowess on multiple heroes. See, an early flip now for the Shanghai Dragons. They gain control of the point. Creative goes down from the damage boost of Lip. And they have a lot of positioning so far. Tobi falling as well. Gesture can't afford to die here. I mean, he's just kind of staggering and stalling as Seoul are trying to regain control, but I mean, too little too late. Shanghai just accept the aggression, mold around it, and beat them down.
Yeah, Shanghai are very disciplined with how they kind of walk around the map. Look at the difference in styles here. Seoul are so YOLO with the way that they play. They're all over the map, but trying to use their individual skill to win the team fight and create chaos that they can thrive in. Whereas the Shanghai Dragons are sticking together in units and moving around the map in very predetermined, planned ways.
A whole lot of ultimates for Shanghai now to work with. Prophet's going to be looking for any sort of kill he can get on the backline, but forced back through the recall. Fitz going down. That was stand 1, just being damage boosted, rolling into the backline, but Gesture does get the hook off. It's a great opening. Possibly potential now to convert this into something a little bit more, but with Marvel going down, you've lost one of your tanks, and it is so scrappy from Seoul. There's really no concise effort from them to try and get a nice, clean push-off. It is a lot of individualistic plays coming out from Seoul Dynasty, and it's been like this the entirety of the Grand Finals thus far.
It has, but Seoul's individual skill has been good enough that they get away with it, and other teams haven't really been able to punish them. I would like to see one difference here in this round for the Seoul Dynasty. Marvel and Prophet need to work together. If they can work together to get a good dive onto a sniper or onto Izayaki, they can just bust open the backline and Gesture will get an angle through the front. But so far, Prophet and Marvel, they're just not coordinated enough, and they're just getting stuck in this choke point.
Gesture, as often as he throws out these hooks, he's not getting the value, and Bob not going to be touching the point, which forces Marvel down to the low ground, but Fitz perfectly capable of taking matters into his own hands now. 2 kills, searching for the third onto LeeJaeGon, will not get it. Off the back of this, I mean, his Shanghai Dragons are still not out.
They aren't out by any means here. LeeJaeGon healing Lip up and just trying to tank him in the backline's Marvel. He's overextended without the help of Prophet. Again, searching for different targets in the middle of the team fight. Izayaki with the trance? They think this is winnable.
Yeah, they're just going straight in, and why not? Fitz already down, and Transcendence forced out now from Creative as he needs to try and turn his team around. You can see the dodging and juking in the backline from Tobi as he does get a res off onto Fitz. They need their snipers alive, and it pays off big. Fitz immediately returning back with a kill onto Izayaki, taking out the Discord Orb. No longer have to worry about that too much. The dynamite damage as well, just passive enough. Burning down the opposition, still so scrappy as Lip does get the return kill onto Prophet on the flank, but eventually Shanghai realize they need to cut their losses and just back off for the time being.
They can try and come back in here. The mines are fairly good at trying to be able to isolate an individual pick, but really it's down to Diem and Lip. They've been a little bit quiet. The pressure from Prophet and Marvel has certainly slowed them down just a tiny little bit compared to their efficacy in the first engagement. Look at the pressure that Diem is under right now, for example. Ends up going down, but Creative and Gesture have both died.
Resurrect does get off, so Void back in the fight once again. He's going to have the shields available to him. Stand 1 in a bit of trouble here as he tries to take the 1v1 against Tobi, and Tobi comes up big, taking it straight away to them, the 1v1, winning it out, and now still alive though. Lip just the back of the point, just pumping in the damage. Gesture having to switch over to the Winston just to have some sort of method of getting back to the point as the overtime starts to burn now, and Fitz turning up. Bob laid down onto the point, the team just collapsing into the backline, the Shanghai Dragons crumbling. The point flipped back over, 91% now for them. The Shanghai Dragons, do they have anybody even capable of touching? It looks like Diem might be able to get back on.
Yeah, Diem's been forced to flex over to his Tracer. Has been good in the past, historically an excellent hero for him, but he hasn't played it in so long. Is he even in form? The rest of the Shanghai Dragons are flooding out through the low ground. Lip's gone back over to Sombra as well. Just desperation, comfort picks here, and Diem's kill Gesture.
So smart though, Izayaki, the Transcendence leads them in. The Resurrect gets disjointed, so Tobi didn't manage to get it off. Gesture not back in the fight. That could be critical. Diem with the pulse bomb in hand, looking for a target. He finds one, and it's going to be good, but Diem ends up paying of his own life, but it matters not. The Shanghai Dragons, off the back of some heroics from the members of their team, switching to some off rolls, they end up taking this first map in the lower bracket finals, 1-0. And it was a little bit all over the place. It was a little bit scrappy. It's exactly what the Seoul Dynasty want. They want to try and drag you down to their sort of YOLO style of playing. But ultimately, it is the Shanghai Dragons who are coming out on top early on.
Yeah, very individualistic start for the Seoul Dynasty, but a good counter from what Shanghai were playing there. Great adaptation as well to field Diem and Lip. Clearly that put a lot of pressure onto Seoul, and the way that they wanted to play was effectively shut down by the disciplined nature of Shanghai. This series though, it's gonna be good. It's gonna continue like this.
It's going to be certainly very back and forth between these two teams. And we're going to find out, can the Seoul Dynasty battle back against the Shanghai Dragons? Can they even it up? Well, we'll find out soon after the break. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Map 2 coming up.
The enemies of time will be eliminated. The Overwatch League is brought to you by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Golden Boy back in the spawn room, sharing with you some of the unbelievable opportunities planned for tomorrow when you tune in to the 2020 Grand Finals. First, want to make your way right here in the spawn room? Use the hashtag #CheckMeOWL and OWL2020 to post on our Grand Finals social wall, and maybe, just maybe, we'll read your post on the show. Then, thanks to our friends at Cheez-It Grooves and Pringles Wavy, send a tweet using @Overwatch League and one of these Crunch Time Cam hashtags to get instant, real-time photos of the two teams in action tweeted right back at you. Remember to keep tweeting throughout the grand finals so you can get even more behind the scenes picks. And finally, during the match, we literally want to hear you cheer and share with the world your Overwatch League pride. Be a part of the grand finals broadcast like never before by going to overwatchleague.com/react and look for the Hear Me Cheer icon. I want to hear you. That's it from me. More from the Overwatch League 2020 Grand Finals coming right up.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
"20 teams have dared greatly during the 2020 Overwatch League playoffs, but only 4 remain in the arena.
Shanghai Dragons, they are the first team to lock themselves into the top 4. Seoul Dynasty, though, these guys look absolutely phenomenal.
The Shock complete their journey through the winner's bracket.
The Fusion, they booked their ticket to Korea and see themselves in the Final 4.
It's time for a champion to arise, and one player to be crowned. The 2020 Overwatch League Grand Finals MVP, presented by T-Mobile. T-Mobile will reward the Grand Finals MVP with $100,000. And there's a pack of hungry wolves, eager for their prize. Profit, the 2018 Grand Finals MVP, hopes to bring a championship to his new squad. Toyou, last season's Grand Finals MVP, returns to defend his title with the reigning champs. And there's challengers new and old, yearning to be the new King of the Hill. History is here for the taking. Glory, $100,000. Who will triumph and become the 2020 T-Mobile Grand Finals MVP? Vote for your Grand Finals MVP on Twitter during the Grand Finals match using the hashtag OWLMVP and tag them by their Twitter handle or in-game tag. You can also vote for your Grand Finals MVP by going to overwatchleague.com/MVP.
That's right, T-Mobile wants you to choose the Grand Finals MVP. You can vote on October 10th at overwatchleague.com/MVP or on Twitter using the hashtag OWLMVP and add the player's battle tag in the response as well. Get your votes in, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, when the Grand Finals is occurring on October 10th. And before that, we're going to be finding out which team is moving forward to the Grand Finals presented by IBM, as we are in the middle of our match now between the Seoul Dynasty and the Shanghai Dragons. As you can see at the bottom of your screens, the Shanghai Dragons are leading now 1-0. The Seoul Dynasty have certainly not given up hope yet.
They certainly haven't, and when you have 2018 Grand Finals MVP Profit on your team, then everything is still winnable at any situation. He has been fantastic, arguably the best Hanzo player that we've had in the tournament so far, but he needs to outperform the DPS over on the Shanghai Dragons in order for Seoul Dynasty to have a chance in the series, I would argue. And so far, he's had absolutely moments of brilliance, but Diem has also had some insane moments as well when he's been playing the damage over on the snipers too.
Yes, and really Seoul have been not coasting, I think that's the wrong word to use, but the spearhead of a lot of their wins has come from actually the DPS duo of Prophet and Fitz popping off on the snipers, and on the side of that, Gesture as well, kind of enabling that play, being the bait, if you will, with his Roadhog play. He walks a very thin line between feeding his brains out and just supporting his team with just absolutely ridiculous hooks and plays across the board. A very risky play style that we've seen over the course of this playoffs. And this has really been the crux of the Seoul Dynasty of where they've been getting their wins. The Shanghai Dragons, however, out of every team, I think, in Asia, between these two teams, you can say that the Shanghai Dragons are probably the ones with the most discipline and patience to be able to punish that play style the most.
I definitely agree with that assessment of the situation, and I wonder what's going through the Seoul Dynasty's head here to pick King's Row. King's Row has been, by far and away, the best map for the Shanghai Dragons when it comes to hybrid, and so taking them here is a large risk. I thought we might be going to Hollywood, because that's where Seoul have been generally favored, getting a few of their wins. Taking Shanghai to King's Row is a death wish, in my opinion.
It's so bold.
So Seoul Dynasty, I hope they have something prepared, because otherwise, I feel like Void is going to eat them up. This guy, when it comes to King's Row, is just dominant on high grounds.
Fitz had a nice little angle there, but a shield will mitigate any sort of damage now. See the Shanghai Dragons just trying to take that positioning. The rotations come through. The shields from Void just keeping his team alive, as the high ground is currently just being gained here from the Shanghai Dragons. Seoul not really being pressured, or not really willing either to be giving up too much space. And double sniper, this first point of King's Row, it's all about trying to get this opening element. One pick from either of the teams can be enough.
They tried to take the high ground there, the Shanghai Dragons, and instead they're going to have to make the long way around. Lip just making sure the Gesture can't take it too far out. What a sleep coming out from Izayaki. I don't think a punish is going to be possible there.
Wow, that's so class, being able to punish Gesture, and this is exactly what we were talking about. The Shanghai Dragons with the discipline to be able to take in this aggression that Gesture's been outputting at all times. And they've taken, off the back of that pick, so much space. So realize they have to give this up. They say, okay, we can't contest this at the moment. And they look like they're not even in position to try and recontest this. They don't even want to touch checkpoint A.
No, not at all. I mean, they've lost all positioning on the map, and the Shanghai Dragons have set their snipers up in angles. So once that happens, it's very difficult to be able to get back in. Gesture looks like he wants to go for a flank at the moment, but he has been getting punished quite a lot in this series. Without his playmaking, the Seoul Dynasty's efficacy goes down a lot in the middle of these team fights, and much more of the responsibility ends up being on Prophet's shoulders. Here he comes, though, around the top. He ends up getting Lip with the help of Marvel.
The Rock coming straight through the window to collect that kill. LeeJaeGon almost went down as well, but it's okay. They got to resurrect off, and now the opening picks from stand 1, just working his way through with the rest of his team. A lot committed now. Seoul just fortunately going to be falling onto the point now. Yeah, that's a nice little cleanup for him, the two-piece. And Seoul Dynasty struggling here off the back of just really from the get-go. Shanghai Dragons so good at, I think, taking up positioning in space, just kind of emitting an aura of death as they approach various sections of the map. And Seoul Dynasty, of course, you have to respect the Shanghai Dragons. If you don't, I mean, it's going to be a quick and easy team fight win.
Yeah, Shanghai is so principled in the way that they take map control, especially on maps like King's Row and Volskaya. It's what makes them arguably the best in the world at those maps. Here we go, Fitz popping his in for sight. Diem doesn't quite have it online just yet.
Yeah, I mean, Shanghai Dragons will just wait this out because Diem is so close to his own infosight. That's why I say the risks. But sometimes you have to take risks like this. Gesture going straight into the flank, and the team is following up with the damage right through the choke point. And they found the opportunities. Fitz with 3 kills. Nicely done. And the Seoul Dynasty finally going to be regaining the momentum of this fight, of this map, so to speak, as well. First time it feels like on King's Row that they've really been in control.
Fitz hit a nice little 3 kills here, just as he knows where everybody from Shanghai is going to retreat. LeeJaeGon, he tries to give him the bob and the weave, but it's not enough. Picks off both the supports plus Diem there on a nice little off angle. But they used a lot of ults to be able to get that. The Infrasight to know where everyone was. The Nana Boost to save Gesture once he got hooked in. And Shanghai can come in with all 6 ultimates here. Diem's already forced out the Resurrect with his Infrasight.
Yeah, it's going to require some more risky plays, honestly. The Dragon Strike to try and split them up onto the cart. Lip doesn't get too much value, but he does force them back just through this choke point. Gesture, you can see him going for the flank. Misses the hook in the back line, and now it's going to be leading the initiation in with the Gravitic Flux. Does catch onto one as Void will connect onto Marvel. Lip winning this 1v1 as Prophet had to go for the flank, and this is this kind of high-risk, high-reward playstyle that Seoul Dynasty like to play. It's going to be a repeated narrative, I think, over the course of this season, because the Shanghai Dragons clearly have done their homework, they've done their prep, they know exactly what was coming for them when they were up against the Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah, we've had 5-map series as the best teams in North America have played against the best teams in APAC. But when it comes to those inter-regional rivalries, where Shanghai play against Seoul, or if Shock had played against the Fusion, they just know each other so well that the counterplays are there, ready in the playbook. And that's what it feels like so far in this series, is that Shanghai just have a read on everything they want to do, plus the fact that Lip is getting the better end of Prophet repeatedly, as he does again there and forces Prophet away.
Dragon Strike straight through the flank, and he does collect it onto Creative, removing him from the fight. The Nano Boost was applied, and I think Creative actually committed himself to the Dragon Strike just to get the Nano Boost off. Unfortunately, not enough to try and turn this fight around, as the kills are just flooding in now for the Shanghai Dragons. Stand One taking a very aggressive approach, but he realizes his team is there to back him up, and the damage is done. No one is there to contest. The Shanghai Dragons taking a nice speedy time bank with 2 minutes and 49 seconds remaining. And Josh,
Brett,
you got to think...
I don't think you take Shanghai to King's Row. I've got to start there at the map selection. The Seoul Dynasty lost it the last time these two teams played against each other. Shanghai are known to be an incredible team on this map. And with Seoul not starting so well on Busan, they had the option to go anywhere. There's 2 minutes and 49 seconds still on the time back.
Quite bizarre.
Shanghai have been utterly dominant. It's not just a strategical dominance, though. When it comes to the individual play, Diem and Lip have been all over Prophet and Fitz. Prophet has been a nightmare to deal with so far in the grand finals presented by IBM, but Prophet is absent in this game. Lip has been getting the better end of him, has been owning the high grounds, has pushed Prophet down into weaker positions repeatedly. And Prophet just hasn't been lighting up the kill feed in the same way that he did against Shock, against Fusion.
This playoff narrative that we've created crumbling before our very eyes just as we let it in. But you're right, Josh. I mean, it seemed like it. It seemed like the Seoul Dynasty were really coming alive off the back of heroics from Prophet and Fitz. But statistically, these two teams not quite evenly matched over the course of the 2020 season. The Shanghai Dragons, I think, have beaten the Seoul Dynasty almost every time, apart from once, where the Seoul Dynasty took the win against them in Week 14 of the regular season. They've come close a couple of times, but ultimately it has always been the Shanghai Dragons taking away the win. So far, it seems like it is no different. Seoul Dynasty have got to come up big, something new, other than just the risky playstyle they've been getting away with so far. They want to try and take the win, I think.
Yeah, I need to see some more magic from Prophet. I feel like he has to be the playmaker here. Creative's Bionades have still been pretty good. Gesture's been getting shut down by Shanghai's strategy. It's on Prophet. He needs to win his 1v1s, he needs to hit his shots. It really does sometimes come down to as little as that.
If there was anyone to do it, it would be Prophet alongside Fitz. Fitz is
trying to take control of Hotel at the moment, while Fitz pressures Void off the high ground. They have got a lot of damage there onto Void. This is a beautiful angle. That's a direct counter strat. They know that Void is always going to be hanging up there, and they know that he's going to position his shield to block damage from Prophet. So Fitz has that little angle just above the shield up to his head.
Not just that, but Gesture so smart. They realize they get that kill onto Void on the high ground. Gesture immediately recognizes, okay, LeeJaeGon is going to be going for the Resurrect. So he takes positioning inside the staircase, removes LeeJaeGon as he's going for the Resurrect when he thinks he's safe. And now they've just opened up checkpoint A. This is theirs for the taking. There's no hope for Shanghai to retake this one now. Wonderful plays all around there from the Seoul Dynasty. And it does seem like we do have a series on our hands.
It's beautiful to see these anti-strats to borrow a term from other esports, is that when you know the tendencies of your opponent so much, you can craft strategies that wouldn't work against everybody, but are specifically excellent against one specific opponent. Is Tobi going to get caught in this?
Yes, he is. I mean, the damage was done, and Stanmon was there to clean it up on the flank. Still Gesture trying to turn it around. He's flanking currently. The nano boost applied, but asleep on top of it just to remove it. And what a flank! They're just avoiding the damage around him, but Gesture, the nano boost is still there. It's causing havoc in the backline, running down his opponents, looking for the second one, and Prophet will assist the dynamic duo that terrorized the 2018 playoffs. Back at it again.
Bonjour.
A beautiful coordination there from Seoul, and what a rescue after Lip had hit a really good shot onto Prophet, actually, and the Resurrect was there, but Tobi ended up falling. What a play. I love Creative's nano boosts. They're always at a great time to save Gesture and allow him to be such a brawly tank at the front. It's part of the reason the Gesture can play so aggressively, is that when Creative has that nano online, it's always going on the tank, always going on the hog.
See these angles currently being taken, and Prophet holding this high ground approach, so powerful. The recon arrow is going to give them a lot of vision, a lot of information as well to work with, so they know exactly what they're going to be handling. And now look at this, the Gravitic Flux comes through into the Dragon Strike. It's a wonderful combo, but it doesn't net them any kills. Still Gesture uses the space to just take away Diem, remove him out of the fight, but the Resurrect comes out anyway, unable to deny it, forcing him into the corner. Big Bionade catches onto the tank line of the Seoul Dynasty. Fitz has a lovely angle here, but he needs to hit his shots. He's currently the Shanghai Dragons still able to just hold on, but Fitz winning the 1v1 and taking out LeeJaeGon as well. Great plays from Fitz. And this is a name as well that we haven't really discussed quite a lot for Seoul Dynasty. You wouldn't think him as a star Widowmaker player. He doesn't really come to mind when it comes to the APAC region Widowmaker players at all. Yet he has been turning up so consistently and outperforming, honestly, in this entirety of the Grand Finals presented by IBM.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to agree with you there. Fitz is... I mean, the APAC region is so stacked with Widowmaker talent.
It really is.
He just kind of goes by the wayside. There, Gesture gets hooked in. Creative didn't have an angle to be able to nano boost him, so Gesture does die, but resurrected immediately. The space made there with Prophet's Dragon Strike that also catches Void. And now Seoul utilizing their ultimates in a beautiful way alongside the headshot from Fitz. And they are rolling this momentum forwards.
This is beautiful. This is exactly what they wanted. Taking every opportunity that's handed to them. Void, the last one standing, will not be able to touch. And look at that, the Seoul Dynasty. You gotta be joking. They're meeting them pound for pound and just a little bit extra on top. That is ridiculous. Getting a way better time than the Shanghai Dragons on King's Row of all maps.
How did I doubt them? Oh, ye of little faith, the Seoul Dynasty must be saying, as they get an extra 59 seconds, nearly a full minute on the clock over Shanghai. But that was not so much an increase of individual skill, but a great read of where Shanghai wanted to hold at every point on the map. Point A was broken immediately, with Fitz on the high ground shooting over the top of Void's shield. They kept the momentum going into point B with great ultimate usage. They managed to punish Diem, and Fitz wins the 1v1 in the middle of checkpoint B, and they get that completion. And then they roll it forwards with more great ults. The Seoul Dynasty use their ults very well in this strategy. Marvel always finds big value with his gravitic fluxes. Prophet is fantastic with these Dragon Strikes, both creating space and having Gesture hook people into them to be able to get kills. And like I keep saying, Creative's nano boosts empower the entire style of Gesture's hog. Gesture will sometimes get deliberately hooked in by the enemy Roadhog just so that Creative can nano boost him and he can get the kill. Think about that, gap closing with the enemy hook. That's the kind of creativity that Seoul can showcase with their ults.
Yeah, and we saw, certain teams as well, like Philly, try and kind of outplay that, I suppose, by playing the Diva, just to have something to mitigate some of the factors with the Bionades coming through. But ultimately, it's just one piece of the working machine that is Seoul Dynasty. And shutting down that one piece often isn't enough. On the defense now, as it switches back around, another hook comes through, and that's the damage boost applied on top. Stand 1 is not going to be any sort of match. Cleanup kills now for Prophet, and he makes it look effortless. An absolute freak of nature on so many different roles, but Hanzo is certainly one of them.
How does he get this level of consistency across all of his heroes?
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
And this peak on Hanzo of all heroes.
It's quite jaw-dropping. You don't really expect it. I mean, it's hard to have this kind of consistency over multiple heroes, over multiple years, yet Profit seems right up there and right at home when it comes to these playoff scenarios. I was ready to put a nail in the playoff narrative that they level up a little bit, but
he's resurrecting.
Willing to prove me wrong, and I'm all here for it because it means we're going to get some quality Overwatch. Now, Shanghai have taken a nice right-hand side flank approach, just trying to take control of the high ground.
Good sleep.
Yeah, the sleep dance avoid will stop the aggression. Nice Bionade onto 2, but looks like there's not going to be any damage to try and push
Watch this Dragon Strike. Watch the Dragon Strike here. Profit is taking an angle underneath because they want to get a Dragon Strike set up that can allow them to buy space on the point, I think. He's now repositioned over towards the archway as the Shanghai Dragons have gone up and above him. But you'll see how they coordinate this kind of stuff. Beautiful. Again, Marvel lifts them up in the air and Profit gets the kill. Unleashes the Dragon Strike where he knows everybody is trying to kill Gesture. It's so good.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The whole hog on top, Gesture finding many opportunities just to flex on him. And yeah, I know Mitch has already talked about the 10 rings and Balenciaga, but look at that. The full hold now for the Seoul Dynasty. Wonderful work. Wonderful work. And Josh, you were saying, like, yeah, he's looking for positioning with the Dragon Strike, which was a great read and a great spot. But it was the ring around the rosies and the high ground when Shanghai were chasing them out, Seoul rotating back around again. And this game of cat and mouse where they're playing around with the positioning. And for Profit to kind of just say, okay, the game plan is to try and force them back and maybe catch them out with the Dragon Strike from below. But the adaptation at the end when he realizes, actually, no, now that they forced down to the point, they have to contest this, and they're going to be going for this Resurrect. Just laying it down. This is what makes Profit such a magical player to watch, is that he not only has the mechanical skill that really carries that element, but he also has the brain. He puts it to use in ways that other players sometimes miss.
Absolutely. And that's what makes him an incredible player at Mei, but also Tracer. And any hero in between. The Genji, the Hanzo, the Pharah, the everything. The guy is one of the most flexible players that we have in the Overwatch League, genuinely. And like we keep saying, a genuine... one of the only very few GOAT candidates that there are in the Overwatch League. If he is able to get back-to-back, or sorry, not back-to-back, but repeat championships here by winning the Grand Finals presented by IBM, then he's almost locked it in. That's a long way away. They are 0-1 down in this series, but he's doing a good job of it here on King's Row.
Here it is, the Seoul Dynasty on their attack, and they've got quite a bit of time to work with here. And you can see Fitz just holding into the spawn for now. Doesn't want to take any aggressive angles. Marvel going to be using the grass just to see if he can get through the choke point. They are taking a ton of spam damage, so it's a difficult ask for them. But one pick
Fitz
is all
not on the high ground
need.
anymore. Yeah, Fitz is not on the high ground anymore. He's actually wrapping around, playing more around the statue kind of sightline, while Gesture plays underneath. This is slow, controlled gameplay from Seoul. They're showcasing something different here. This isn't the scrappy, uncoordinated, individualistic play that you normally expect. I mean, sure, Gesture's going on a flank, but it's everyone else on his team is playing safe and passive to kind of allow him to go on this journey.
They don't even realize that he's back here. The hook comes through. The silent Roadhog is the deadliest, apparently, and it will mean that there's a couple of opportunities now for the Seoul Dynasty to work. The back line, Gesture still there. Izayaki going down. They do get a Resurrect off. It's evens currently. The Shanghai Dragons have got the picks necessary, but Profit wants to try and turn it on the high ground still. Lip takes him from behind. And it's not going to be doable for them. Still, Marvel now using that grass to try and stay alive. Lip going for the flank now, straight through the building. Going to be met, though, with Marvel just running straight into him. The big Bionade from Creative, or from Izayaki, I should say, pushes him back. And now the Nano Boost is ready to be applied straight away. The timing is impeccable. The whole hook instantly cancelled, though, but they have to contest this point, and the Dragon Strike from Profit is pushing them back. Gravitic Flux now working its magic. So much work done, and there you have it. The Seoul Dynasty, through some excellent plays, wonderful mechanics, and adaptations throughout this map, have taken King's Row against Shanghai Dragons, and they're going to be evening it up, I should say, 1-1.
What a performance. What an incredible performance from the second seed in APAC there, the Seoul Dynasty. The ultimate usage is head and shoulders above any of the other teams in the league, actually. Right now, in this meta, the ult usage is the best from the Seoul Dynasty. When those ults come online for other teams, it seems like they don't have any natural synergies. Seoul makes it look like a primary win condition for their composition. Putting the Nana boost onto Gesture, getting the incredible gravitic fluxes to set up Prophet for these shots, the amazing Dragon Strike coordination that they have. And they beat the Shanghai Dragons here on arguably their best map.
So many times these teams have clashed in 2020, and it's gone to map 5 many, many times before. But we're going to find out soon enough after the break what our analysts have to make so far of this match. And it is going to be Assault as our next map, so stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. The low bracket finals continues.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the spawn room. I'm Golden Boy. Time to play Name That Map. Not only name it as quickly as you can. Let's do this. Name that map. All right, I see a chimney. Good for Santa Claus, I still believe. Oh, a rooftop. Okay, oh, that's nice. I quite like this. All right, I know what this is. It's Rialto. Congratulations to everybody that got it right. So much more to come for the spawn room and much more from the Overwatch League 2020 Grand Finals coming right up.
welcome to our game break presented by Cheez-It Grooves. Zoe here, joined by Costa as well as Reinforced. And we are currently watching our losers bracket final between the Shanghai Dragons and the Seoul Dynasty. It is 1 apiece, and I believe this is the first time we're heading into a halftime so far this weekend, with that actually being the score and it not being 0-2. So there's something for you. Overall, if we're looking at the record between those two teams, it is actually the Shanghai Dragons who are leading 6-1. But it looks like the Seoul Dynasty kind of downloaded them now, at least in that second map. So let's dissect the action. We're actually starting things off with a crunch time presented by Cheez-It Grooves. Costa, Diem was kind of setting the tone very early in that map.
It couldn't have been any earlier. We walked into this first team fight. Diem comes out on the Widow and just pops 4 people. And this is sort of like, I was just like, this is going to be scary for everyone involved if this is how Diem is going to play in this series. The ludicrous thing about this whole thing is Diem played the same way throughout the entirety of this round of Bdosin, and they somehow lost. I don't understand. If I was Diem, I'd be very upset with the rest of my team. But you saw throughout the rest of this Bdosin, they ended up rallying and they ended up being very dominant throughout the rest of that map. And I think you got to really give props to the Shanghai Dragons sticking with Lip and sort of having their strategy of what they wanted to do. But Diem is definitely a front runner right now for one of the most integral players for this Dragons team if they are going to overrun the Seoul Dynasty.
And still, like the Seoul Dynasty being able to take it to the Shanghai Dragons like this, I mean, that just speaks so highly of Seoul Dynasty in the first place, because we know what the Shanghai Dragons are capable of, and now Seoul Dynasty are putting on a show as well, just putting out beastly performances. When we went into map 2, I mean, Profit, Fitz, they started popping off as well and just surprising us by the minute. It was quite unbelievable, actually, the amount of great Widowmaker performances we're seeing from both of these teams. They're going back at each other all the time consistently between these team fights. I really cannot emphasize enough how impressed I am by the Seoul Dynasty here, being able to keep it up with the likes of the Shanghai Dragons. And you saw as well the Shanghai Dragons, I mean, they are versatile. Like we mentioned, we saw Lip over on that Sombra initially, and they're willing to play around with these compositions as well, trying to find the compositional advantage that works for them. Now, going into King's Row, like Saicho mentioned on the cast, this is where the Shanghai Dragons get really comfortable. This is their home map, even so. I mean, they are so fantastic on King's Row. Yeah. But the Seoul Dynasty, Costa, they just find a way to keep bringing these star-level performances.
Well, it's just playoffs Profit. Can you even say anything more? He just went...
But Fitz too!
Yeah, I talked a lot about Diem, so let's hit your point first. I talked a lot about Diem, but Fitz really sort of put him in his place going onto this King's Row, really held him down, which was so important going into this next map. But I'm always going to bring it back to Profit. So here's the head-to-head first. You can just see this is from King's Row. Diem sort of not having as great of a performance, but you look at the deaths, he's dying a lot more, while Fitz is playing a lot safer. And I think what this did is this enabled Profit, as I was saying, to just do so much damage. He was getting so much value with every single Dragon Strike. He got multiple 3 or 4Ks. I think you really got to, emphasize on Profit every time you look at him on this Hanzo and he just takes over a game.
I just absolutely love that even though the first map has been dominant in favor of the Shanghai Dragons, it is the Seoul Dynasty not losing any confidence. Instead, they're heading into one of the maps Shanghai Dragons is known to excel at, and they just bring the aggression, they bring it to them, and then they actually even manage to get a better time on their attack and shut down the Dragons. Now, that bodes well for this team coming into the second half here. Our next map is going to be Volskaya Reinforce. What are your thoughts on that map? What do you want to see from both of those teams?
Well, this is where it gets quite difficult for the Seoul Dynasty, because I've just praised them and said how ridiculously individually skilled they are, Fitz being able to bring the performances, and then you have Profit, of course, in the playoffs popping off. But now, this is where it gets really difficult, because now is the point in the series where we know that the Shanghai Dragons, they're going to go into the game break, they're going to adapt accordingly, they're going to bring out some new compositions, perhaps make some substitutions based on what they're willing to play, right? And this is where you really enter that uphill battle. This is where Shanghai Dragons, they realize what Seoul Dynasty are doing, and they're going to make adaptations accordingly. It could be the turning point for the series where one team comes out and starts dominating, and Shanghai Dragons are favored because they're so fantastic in the second half of some of these series.
Right, Costa is in agreement with you, and we just can't wait to get this second half started. There will be no substitution on either side, so we're heading over to Volskaya with the same to Rosses. I can't wait to see what both of them have in store for us, and for all the action, we send it back over to Bren and Sideshow.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch.
Golden Boy back in the spawn room, sharing with you some of the unbelievable opportunities planned for tomorrow when you tune in to the 2020 Grand Finals. First, want to make your way right here in the spawn room? Use the hashtag CheckMeOWL and OWL2020 to post on our Grand Finals social wall, and maybe, just maybe, we'll read your post on the show. Then, thanks to our friends at Cheez-It Grooves and Pringles Wavy, send a tweet using @Overwatch League and one of these Crunch Time Cam hashtags to get instant, real-time photos of the two teams in action tweeted right back at you. Remember to keep tweeting throughout the Grand Finals so you can get even more behind-the-scenes pics. And finally, during the match, we literally want to hear you cheer and share with the world your Overwatch League pride. Be a part of the Grand Finals broadcast like never before by going to overwatchleague.com/react and look for the Hear Me Cheer icon. I want to hear you. That's it from me. More from the Overwatch League 2020 Grand Finals coming right up.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by State Farm. For auto, home, or renter's insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
Well, the sun is rising, and with it, the hopes and dreams of many fans of both the Seoul Dynasty and the Shanghai Dragons, as we're heading into the second half of this match between these two juggernauts here in the lower bracket finals. Welcome back from the break, everybody. And it's looking like this series is shaping up to be a very, very good one. And it's interesting as well, Josh. We were listening into the game break and what our analysts had to say, and Reinforce was saying that they might be making some adjustments. That is Shanghai moving forward. What do you think roster that they're actually going to be rolling out with? They've made no adjustments, no substitutions whatsoever. Do you agree with them sticking with this?
I think I do. You know, at the end of the day, mid-match adaptations are very important, but it's also important to stick to your guns if you believe you have the right recipe for success. And I think that the Shanghai Dragons do have the right recipes for success here. When they lost on King's Row, it wasn't because of some compositional problem or some player underperforming. They have all the pieces necessary here for them to be able to beat the Seoul Dynasty. It just comes down to execution at this point now. So I think we're going to see a real slugfest in the second half. I don't think Shanghai are going to change things up and sub Fleta back in, maybe for the final map if we go to control. But outside of that, I think Diem and Lip are just going to be the boys. The damage-dealing double sniper duo for the rest of the maps. And the next map, Bren, it is another Dragons classic. It's Volskaya Industries.
It is going to be a Shanghai Dragons classic. Volskaya Industries, let's take a look at the fastest times presented by Xfinity. Here in our 2020 records, as you can see, it is the Seoul Dynasty that hold the current record against the Guangzhou Charge. That's a time bank of 5 minutes, 18 seconds. So they're no strangers to the map. Yep, a very rapid time. I cannot remember what week that occurred in. So the meta, I mean, it could be some sort of, I mean, it could have been anything, couldn't it? We've had so many different metas this year. But we'll see if we'll see maybe potentially a repeat. It's going to be hard for them, obviously, going on up against the Shanghai Dragons on their map pick, which is Volskaya Industries. And it's a map that they are very proficient at. Although, we did say the exact same thing when Seoul Dynasty picked King's Row.
Yes, absolutely. But crucially there, the Seoul Dynasty picked King's Row. So they had the plan, and you could see it being executed. They had specific strategies against Shanghai Dragons' tendencies on King's Row. Do they have the same strategies, the same great counter-stratting when it comes to Volskaya? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But Shanghai Dragons were the ones that picked this map, so there's no indication whether or not Seoul Dynasty have a good plan here. Now, something that Seoul do love to do, though, is run this Pharah on defense. They do this on Hanamura, they do this on Anubis, and it looks like they're going to do it again here on Volskaya. All of these assault maps have a choke point at the front, some tight, narrow area that the attackers have to get through that Prophet can just sit above, and he's protected from sightlines if Diem and Lip want to snipe. So it becomes very difficult. You know, people in ranked, they would say, well, obviously hit scan counters the Pharah, but not if you can't see them. And Prophet is just going to play behind all of these buildings, raining damage from above.
It really does feel like we are singing the praises of Prophet quite a lot, but he is one of those players that I would trust playing Pharah in terms of being able to manage, you know, the map geometry, his fuel count as well. You'll often never see him in an open sight line. It's quite hard to try and catch him off guard.
But this is beautiful, Brent. Yeah. Diem knows that he can't shoot him from the front, so instead he's going to navigate all the way around the back. As soon as Diem gets into position, this should be a really easy kill onto Prophet. Look at Diem. They have no idea.
Oh, he's got a complete sightline instead. He decides to take the shot onto Tobi instead. He misses. Going for the 1v1 now. Look at this. Straight away into the back line. He wins it out, and it wasn't even the 1v1. He had the support of Tobi. Forces out the early resurrect. Diem still in a bit of trouble. He's losing this battle, but still every shot misses! And a flick of the wrist, Diem, you absolute freak of nature. Finding that pick off. Tobi is going to avenge him in the end. But this is Shanghai Dragons with a wonderful opening here against the Seoul Dynasty.
It's all over the place right now, though. LeeJaeGon and Izayaki are in the back lines. They've been disconnected from everybody else, and they're trying to make it happen. But there's just simply no way. LeeJaeGon's taking a nap towards the back, and Gesture collects both of them.
Probably would have liked to stagger them a little bit longer, but the longer you stagger them, the more positioning you give up. And
the thing is, Diem, look at this. Around the right-hand side, and they know, again, that Diem is going to try and go for this flanky kind of play. They can see Lip now on that right-hand side angle. This kind of flank play isn't going to work again.
Giving him a bit of an in. Seoul Dynasty are happy to accept it now as the Nano Boost is offloaded. Onto Marvel. He's a bit of a nuisance, but the hook comes through and stand one. It is good. Many kills flowing now for him. The Shanghai Dragons, that is far too much damage to try and overcome and withstand whatsoever. Prophet ends up using the barrage as a last-ditch effort. Will not be getting anything out of that one. He's probably going to be making the switch as well, as they're looking to just only hold now on checkpoint B. And yeah, he's going to switch over to the Hanzo now to try and match them in some sort of double sniper mirror.
A great idea from Shanghai, though. That opening flank from Diem was beautiful. They understood exactly what Seoul were going for. And Diem, he goes for Tobi, because if he gets the Mercy out of the way, obviously, no Resurrect available. Can Diem open up point B now? Wouldn't that be wonderful if he hit some kind of crazy headshot again? We know this guy is capable of it. He's just won the Widowmaker 1v1 as well.
Well, early Gravitic Flux comes through, but cancelled out of it, actually. I believe that was an accretion.
There he is.
And look at this, comes out as well, but again, slept out of it. So Void comes out with his Gravitic Flux, but he gets cancelled as well. Traded out, no value to be found, but it does not matter for the Shanghai Dragons. Rolling forwards with much gusto. Still trying to find the opportunities. LeeJaeGon just, okay, feeding a little bit there towards the tail end. Given maybe an opportunity here, but it looks like Stand 1 wants to try and put an end to this one. Profit moving over to the Tracer to try and stall this one out. Try and get a pick in the backline perhaps, and indeed he does, as Izayaki will fall. Finds a second one onto Diem. Profit. It wasn't the intended choice, but he's made it work nevertheless. He will go down eventually though, and Bob now going to be stalling out this point, just keeping a bit of pressure and a bit of a presence now into the corner. They can't deal with it. Seoul Dynasty struggling to get any sort of foothold back into this, but the Resurrect comes through, and Marvel is back now in his mech. Seoul Dynasty, it looks like they have finally stalled out the Shanghai Dragons long enough. They've gotten enough picks that it is going to be them holding on for now. They'll be switching back off of these stalling heroes.
So many amazing things happened in that long extended team fight. Diem getting opening kills, Stand 1 just going on a tear, LeeJaeGon killing Tobi and then trying to kill Creative with his Valkyrie. I mean, just absolute madness. 3 minutes left though here, Brent. They're going to come forwards with a whole hog. I'm not sure there's that much they can really do with it, and Prophet is still on that Tracer. He is going to be so clutch. Flashbacks to 2018 once again. It was
huge Bionade there. Connects onto 2 targets there from Creative. The tanks are going to be going down. The instant res comes out as LeeJaeGon is going to be mitigating it. And Diem on the Widowmaker just hoping for an angle here. Lip as well. It's a dangerous game they're playing. Prophet still on the Tracer. The recall forced out. They cannot afford to just give up any space. Creative in the top right corner. Diem goes down to Profit. Diem gets a second one as well, but Gesture nano boosted up, but it matters not. The Bionade negated all healing, and he gets burned to a crisp. Shanghai Dragons able to now roll across the point thanks to the back of Diem's own picks, and he has an open sightline. Fitzo opting to try and turn this one around, but gets Gravitic Flux straight up into the air and taken out from Void as he's now stalling this one out. Lip with 3 kills. And a nice end and closure. Absolute chaos, absolute pandemonium, Josh. But Shanghai get the job done.
And again, it's Diem and Lip, man. They're so clutch to watch. And it's fantastic, the picks that they're able to find. Diem opens things up at the beginning, Lip closes things out. It's such an amazing 1-2 punch that the Shanghai Dragons have got with this double sniper look. It's just phenomenal. And as clutch as Prophet is, as amazing as he is during the playoffs, even he wasn't able to rescue that. They narrow it down to 1 minute and 55 on the time bank, but that's still a very respectable score for Shanghai.
Very respectable indeed. This was Shanghai Dragons' map pick at the end of the day, off the back of losing King's Row. But it's something we need to highlight time and time again. But Diem and Lip, God almighty, they are so potent on these snipers. The headshot onto Prophet, I mean, we didn't even see how that happened, but magic being made before your eyes here. And
2 shots, 2 kills.
Such a fun meta to watch as well, Josh, actually.
It is.
There's so much explosive potential on almost every single character they're seeing here. It enables players like LeeJaeGon to go in aggressively on the Mercy when he just pulls out the pistol. Huge Bionade plays from the Ana players. The snipers with the one-shot potential. And the Roadhog play and the accretion play coming out from the tanks as well to cancel out these high-impact ultimates. It's such a mechanically demanding meta, but it makes it so enjoyable to watch.
Definitely agree. A lot of flashbacks to 2018 playoffs as well, where obviously Prophet, Gesture, and Bdosin were able to come away with the victory. So the Seoul Dynasty, it's almost no wonder that they're able to perform at such an incredible level here again in 2020. It's like they've gone back in time.
It's gone for the jump shot, unable to find it. It's a hard shot on the enemy hands though. There's a lot try and block your line of sight. See Diem now taking the shot straight away. It was on the high ground. I don't know if they can get that res off. because it happened on the high ground, and there's no real way unless LeeJaeGon wants to risk it. He can't risk it. It's an open sightline, so that kill will be going through.
Marvel's totally stuck on the flank, but Gesture is not. He is getting chased, but he's still got his breather and health packs to be able to work around.
He's stuck. He's cornered. I mean, he's trying to get away with murder. This is good, though, from Shanghai Dragons. Every time we talk about what they needed to do against a team like Seoul, they're going to be trying to get away with these cheeky flanks all game long.
It still does something, though, Brent, because Gesture opened up room there for Tobi and Prophet to flank around the right-hand side. He let his team get in through the choke point by distracting in the backlines. Now, they didn't find the picks that they needed to then convert that into a teamfight win, but it's not nonsense, right? It's not just straight up feeding. There is still a method to the madness.
Some semblance of an idea of what they were going for.
Is Fitz going for this flank again?
Yeah, Fitz is going to be going for this one. The walls are popped from Diem though, so he has eyes on. He knows this is occurring currently. The flank that's working his way around. Izayaki goes for the sleep, connects onto it, the Bionade as well. This is a nice aggressive play at the choke here from Shanghai Dragons. And Diem with the walls. A lot of opportunities for him to take so many shots now. They're going so deep in through this flank. I don't think I've ever seen a team fight occur here in the history of professional Overwatch. But here we have it, history being made. And it looks very, very even currently. Void trying to take the 1v1, but Prophet with the headshot, the stray arrow takes him out. And Shanghai Dragons, not a leg or a hero to stand on. Seoul Dynasty cracking open this defense. Shanghai Dragons maybe opting in a little too far into that flank to try and take that aggressive fight.
The thing is, Stand 1 is over there to stop the DPS flanking. But when Stand 1 gets pressured, Shanghai have to come and help him because you can't just allow your Roadhog to die. So it ends up more and more people get dragged into the team fight. And eventually you have all 12 players scrapping in, like you said, Brent, a very uncommon area of the map. And the Seoul Dynasty come away with the victory because they were the proactive ones in the engagement. They now have so many ults to work with. And as I said on King's Row, Seoul Dynasty are currently looking like the best team when it comes to the synergy and coordination between their ults. They've got Infrasight pop, Marvel flanking around the right-hand side.
Live with the kill there onto Prophet. Gravitic Flux, the Bionade from Izayaki just to negate a bit of the damage coming through. Still, it will not matter for the Seoul Dynasty, as they're going to get the res off onto Prophet to just kind of reverse that pick. Gesture still creating magic on the point as well, and he is so potent on this Roadhog time and time again. He even trades. It is chaos before our very eyes. And Seoul still look like they may want to push this.
LeeJaeGon got a Valkyrie and went and killed Creative with it. This guy is taking matters into his own hands every time he has the Valkyrie up. He sees opportunities to go for it. He's like, sure, I've got a Valkyrie up and I could heal everybody, but at the end of the day, in such a slow-paced meta, the Valkyrie can actually do a lot of damage. And against snipers who have inconsistent damage output, why not? Go for it, LeeJaeGon.
No one is going to be headshotting you unless they are absolutely cranked out of their mind, which they could be. You're up against the best players in the world, but chances are, with the Valkyrie movement, you're able to get a lot of damage and maybe even a kill out of it. So
yeah, it's not a bad play.
It really does suit LeeJaeGon quite perfectly. And now Seoul Dynasty, I mean, it was looking good for them, but these previous team fights have been made so scrappy, so back and forth. It's been hard to see who's getting an early lead. Still, the kill into Marvel will get resurrected. So back in the fight, Seoul Dynasty have 6, and they are just looking for these pickoffs to try and burn this resurrect.
The key to... Yeah, that Bionade has just shut down the whole team fight, actually. But the key here for the Seoul Dynasty is that they want to take control of the left-hand side of the map. That's... Oh, they're going to commit to this. This is very strange. But just knocked Stand 1 off the map.
He's knocked him off the map with the whole hog, Josh. And he's found an opening again, and they've taken space, but Diem, it's his job now to try and shut down this tomfoolery that's occurring. He gets the kill onto Fitz, and Tobi, though, manages to get the res off as well. Gesture is actually just taking complete control, gets the hook off, knocks him onto the low ground, but chasing him straight in. Another hook from Stand 1, and the damage from Lip takes it up, and it is so greedy, Josh, you're absolutely right. And it is all over the place. Void with 2, though, the Gravitic Flux committed in the end. Seoul Dynasty, they're trying to kind of drag Shanghai Dragons apart, pick their positioning, if you will. But the Shanghai Dragons DPS are the ones who are coming up clutch at the end of the day. Seoul are finding opportunities and they're getting a pick and getting positioning. But Diem or Lip, it doesn't matter who it is. Either one of them is always coming up with a kill to try and counteract what Seoul are chucking at them.
Yeah, and Seoul aren't quite disciplined enough. Gesture should have just stayed on the high ground there. They had control over the high ground towards the left-hand side of point B. Again, Diem finds an opening pick, forces out the Resurrect, but Seoul have to start this process all over again with only a minute left. I want to draw your attention to Creative's Nano Boost, though. I think this is going to go on Gesture, and probably after he gets hooked in. If Stand 1 goes for a hook right now on Gesture, he's going to get an ugly surprise.
So Diem has the infra side, he has the information, the vision, potentially get a kill. Dragon Strike comes through now, just to try and push them apart. Seoul Dynasty hoping to try and turn it around. Profit with the Storm Arrows does collect one, but a Resurrect onto Lip instantly brings him back into the fight, and now only 40 seconds remaining. Fitz's Venom Mine takes out LeeJaeGon of all things. The hook from Stand 1 up in the air, but he has to breathe to negate a lot of that damage. Going to be soaking it up now as he's healed back up to almost full health. And Shanghai Dragons still in control, but for how much longer when Gesture gets a pick like this? It is all over the place. A never-ending team fight, Josh.
It really is. The Seoul Dynasty don't know when to reset at this point. There's 15 seconds left, so now they have to commit.
Push.
Gesture and Marvel, they're in on the point, but this Nano is still available from Gesture.
Dragon Strike into the accretion from Void, locks Marvel into place and takes him out. And I don't think they've got a Resurrect. They've been using it so often, so early on. Gesture has the Nano Boost, the whole hook, but hooked out of it. Trying to take this kerfuffle onto the point. It's not going to be doable. And the Shanghai Dragons, in what felt like the most never-ending team fight of all time, are able to take Volskaya Industries. It was their map pick. They were the favorites on it. They're going to be leading this series now 2-1.
A little more discipline, a little better performance from Diem and Lip, and Shanghai take it. But honestly, it would have been mind-blowing had the Seoul Dynasty been able to win King's Row and Volskaya. They are the two best maps that the Shanghai Dynasty can boast. And this series, it's going to continue to go back and forth. Either team at this point could still come out with the victory. Don't let the seedings fool you. Anyone can win this series.
Absolutely correct, Josh. And the last time these teams faced off, it did go to map 5. In the Asia Upper Finals of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So these two teams can be quite evenly matched when they decide to be so. We're going to find out if Seoul Dynasty can bring it back after the break. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. The lower bracket finals continues right after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Spawn Room. It's Golden Boy and it's time to play Overwatch Hero Trivia. I hope you're ready, because here's your question. Fashion has developed a fascination with this new traveling companion, a small bird named A, Io, B, Nero, or C, Ganymede. And the answer is, of course, C, Ganymede. Congrats to everybody that got it right. You're so smart. Of course, there's so much more to come from the Spawn Room and the Overwatch League 2020 Grand Finals coming right up.
For both of these teams, this map is going to be an important one. We're going to be heading over to Dorado, and it's going to be a decider for the Shanghai Dragons, but also for the Seoul Dynasty to keep themselves in this series. our lower bracket finals are all going to really come down to this in quite a big degree of things. Now, the Seoul Dynasty have come very close to beating the Shanghai Dragons, but I believe it was 6 times out of 7 they have beaten the Seoul Dynasty when it comes to the 2020 season.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy. There have been multiple map 5s throughout that. I mean, one of the most notable being a map 7 in the May Melee finals, where the Shanghai Dragons were able to reverse sweep and take the victory. Clearly, Shanghai have been the better team so far over the course of the season, but at the end of the day, how you perform in playoffs is much more important. It's these big moments that define a season, as players from the Seoul Dynasty will tell you, because that's how they won their championship in 2018. The players, that is, not the organization. Gesture, Profit, Bdosin. Coming into Dorado here, Bren, this is a very interesting map pick from Seoul. It's not a map that we have seen very often throughout the entirety of the playoffs. A lot of people have been avoiding it. I think mostly because these hog compositions are kind of stuck to the floor. And when you get to point B of Dorado, there's a clear high ground, low ground difference. And the rotations from the low ground to the high ground are very long and difficult to execute. I think Seoul have got something special to show us here. I think they've got something cooked up in the strategy, in the lab, and they're about to showcase it. It might be the Prophet Farah, it might be some kind of weird tank line. They got to have something.
Sure. I mean, let's theorize a little bit. I mean, Prophet has been playing the Farah. We've seen it every now and then. It is going to be Seoul on the defense first, and it looks like they are just opting into this double sniper composition. Interestingly enough, and it may be that they don't have anything special planned, but you saying, Josh, about how it's very sort of inaccessible for Roadhog to go onto the high ground, I suppose. There's no easy access routes. It's long flank routes. But that kind of seems right up Gesture's alley, the way he's been playing across the board so far in the grand finals presented by IBM. He's been willing to go on these long road trips by himself, a little bit of a solo adventure to try and find something, a bit of a risk, risky play here and there to see if he can get a pick off. That might play into it, it might not, but we'll find out soon enough if Seoul have anything up their sleeves.
Holding up on the high grounds there. Lip swaps over to the Hanzo. Diem tilts his head away just to make sure he wasn't headshot at the beginning.
And this is it. Again, we're looking at these double sniper compositions. It all comes down to who can get that first pick off. And if you can deny the Resurrect that comes out shortly after. So reminiscent of the 2018 metagame where we saw this core of Seoul Dynasty take the meta by storm. Profit and Gesture. See if they can do it again. Currently on the back foot, however, the Shanghai Dragons 2-1 lead, and now pushing this cart steadily forward through the choke point, hunting for a kill, hunting for an opportunity.
Yeah, this composition ends up being fairly slow. Lip on a flank right now, though, taking his mercy with him. Tobi and Creative knocked down to about 20 health each. And Marvel's taking a Bionade as well. A lot of pressure right now for the Shanghai Dragons to deal with.
I'll tell you what, though, that's excellent by Fitz.
Yeah, they just push in with the front line. They know that Lip is behind them, so they just take the frontline fight instead.
I got a lot of respect for Fitz there. I mean, he ended up losing the 1v1, but Josh, you're completely right. In that scenario, Seoul Dynasty have to make a decision. Do we just give up on Fitz? And that's exactly what they did. They left him to the 2v1 in the back line. Fitz manages to turn it into a 1v1 by taking out LeeJaeGon. And the front line of the Seoul Dynasty are just able to dominate because they have the player advantage. Very smart from them, but that advantage is not going to be much when Diem is on the field. The headshot takes out Profit. The instant res to turn that back around, though. Seoul Dynasty committing the Gravitic Flux just to try and turn this fight, and they do just that. They put an end to the push attempt from the Shanghai Dragons. Still, look at this that's occurring. Lip versus Fitz. This is another fight
Still
that's
happening. Still happening in the backlines. Lip just keeping Fitz out. A strange trade, though, because Lip is the majority of your damage in the middle of these fights. Whoa! That shot is nasty good.
Oh, my.
And now Lip is going to be able to pincer the rest of Seoul.
Yep. A dangerous position for Seoul, but they turn it around with the kill onto Diem. And now look at this. Profit tries to take the fight to him. The Storm Arrow is not enough. Dragon Strike unleashed, trying to cut them straight into two. Can they pierce through the armor, though? The Seoul Dynasty have got the Nano Boost onto Gesture just to try and soak up this damage, and he is a big threat. When he gets the breather off as well, it's not much that can bring him down. And it creates enough space for Tobi to get the resurrect off onto Marvel. The hook from Gesture just to turn it around. And the tanks are the ones that are really the ones in control. Seoul Dynasty.
Hello, Brent. Tobi just got 2 kills with his Valkyrie there as well. Tobi and LeeJaeGon are having a separate contest to see who can get the most picks on Mercy. LeeJaeGon in the previous map had more kills than Marvel. And now Tobi's like, hey, don't worry, kid. I can do that too.
It's ridiculous. And what the Shanghai Dragons have to answer, the only thing that they have is these opening pickoffs from Diem, where he's going for these jump shots, but the Seoul Dynasty just seem to have this entire section of Dorado on lock. This seems like it is their comfort zone. You can see why they picked it.
Izayaki's nano boost has to be crucial here. A nano onto stand 1 and a hook onto Gesture could be enormous. And they're going to engage. Oh, they get
sleep! It cancels out the gravitic flux. And now they're just walking straight into Prophet's own Dragon Stripe. But not before Lip answers back with some shots of his own. Marvel has to try and turn this now. The gravitic flux is good. It connects onto 1. He gets the second one. The beat down Marvel. A brutal performance, but a necessary one to try and turn that. The Shanghai Dragons were moments away from taking it from heroics from Lip and Diem. And Seoul now with every tool at their disposal. The whole hook could potentially push them away before they can even touch the card.
And there's only 3 seconds left here, and that's exactly what they're going for, Brent. Just pushing them away.
It's so good. It's so good.
That is a dominant Dorado performance, Brent, if I have ever seen one. Earlier in the season, we had the London Spitfire hold the Washington Justice at something like 2 meters. But outside of that level of dominance, this in a playoffs performance against the best team in APAC is monstrous. You can see now why Seoul Dynasty picked Dorado.
Yeah, one would argue that the stakes slightly higher than London versus Washington. But nevertheless, what a performance from Seoul Dynasty. I can't believe it. And now the win con is so stupidly clear. I mean, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. You don't even need checkpoint A. It is so winnable for them. And we'll see.
And I want to keep highlighting, Brent, the ultimate usage from Seoul Dynasty, and the way that they play around the ultimates from Shanghai. They're so aware of how Shanghai are going to engage. Look at that sleep, man! It's so good. And the other thing is, in the middle of this team fight that happened right after that, Izayaki nano-boosted stand 1, and Creative also got a Bionade onto the Roadhog to kind of stop him from playing as aggressively. They are great at both using their ultimates to secure them teamfight wins and shutting down the ultimates on Shanghai. It is a missing piece of the puzzle for a lot of these top teams in our grand finals presented by IBM. And the Seoul Dynasty have mastered that component.
They truly have. It is beautiful to watch. Fitz going for the jump shot. Again, it's a classic, but it's Prophet who's the one who claims first blood here in this particular round of Dorado. Of course, the Resurrector is going to get burned just to offset that. That's a standard play. We've seen it so many times. You're going to be seeing it a little bit more before the playoffs is truly over. Seoul just hunting for one more opportunity here. Might be going for a bit of a left-hand side flank, try and take control of the high ground and the staircase.
The dragons awaken.
There are just so many ways that the Seoul Dynasty win this. A couple of picks coming out from Prophet and Fitz. A hook comes out from Gesture in an unresable position. So many ways. What is this pressure on Shanghai?
You have got to be kidding me. And I suppose the Shanghai Dragons have to take risks like that if they want to stand a chance, but you've just lost 2 players now.
And that's the thing. Shanghai have to go for those kind of plays because they have so much responsibility on their shoulders. Stand 1 and Diem have actually made this a winnable fight as well, despite the fact that they lost Lip and LeeJaeGon. These guys are coming back on the Tracer and the Lucio, desperately trying to clutch.
Gesture though, he gets the hook, and now Lip is moved into the back line. Lip has to turn this around now with his own Tracer play. He had to move over to the Tracer just to try and get back and contest this point in time. The Dragon Strike from Prophet though, that's going to split them right down the middle here. Can anyone even touch this card? They're just about contesting it. The pulse bomb comes through from Lip, but no casualties. No one going to be found from it. Still doing a good job of holding on. Gesture though with the nano boost. Grass comes through, Gravitic Flux into 1. Marvel needs to try and find a pick off the back of it. Not connecting onto anyone. In fact, it's going to be the counter Gravitic Flux. Void. He manages to get it off, and Gesture will fall. They might be able to hold on to this, but Diem is going to have to go absolutely massive in the process. Not going to be happening, surely. They're moving forwards. The Seoul Dynasty in complete control at this point. The Bionade for the extra healing. Gesture with the whole hog pushes them all away. And it's probably going to be ending just like that. The Seoul Dynasty taking this map and evening it up 2-2 in the lower bracket finals. What a series we have been blessed with.
It's so good. This is fantastic. I actually love what the Seoul Dynasty have come out with there. A lot of people are going to look at that play from Lip and LeeJaeGon and ask what the heck they were doing going on that flank. But at the end of the day, you failed to push the payload more than 76 meters. On the defense, you have to try and make plays like that, because outside of a miracle, you ain't winning Dorado. So that's forgivable in that instance. They had to create magic.
Can Seoul Dynasty complete what they've started now, or the Shanghai Dragons shut them down and take another win against this franchise so far in 2020? Well, we're going to be finding out soon enough, ladies and gentlemen. The next map is Control. It's a Dragons pick. We're going to be finding out the conclusion of this thrilling series soon enough. Don't go anywhere.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Golden Boy back in the spawn room, sharing with you some of the unbelievable opportunities planned for tomorrow when you tune in to the 2020 Grand Finals. First, want to make your way right here in the spawn room? Use the hashtag #CheckMeOWL and OWL2020 to post on our Grand Finals social wall, and maybe, just maybe, we'll read your post on the show. Then, thanks to our friends at Cheez-It Grooves and Pringles Wavy, send a tweet using @Overwatch League and one of these Crunch Time Cam hashtags to get instant, real-time photos of the two teams in action tweeted right back at you. Remember to keep tweeting throughout the Grand Finals so you can get even more behind-the-scenes pics. And finally, during the match, we literally want to hear you cheer and share with the world your Overwatch League pride. Be a part of the Grand Finals broadcast like never before by going to overwatchleague.com/react and look for the Hear Me Cheer icon. I want to hear you. That's it from me. More from the Overwatch League 2020 Grand Finals coming right up.
It all comes down to this. For the Seoul Dynasty and the Shanghai Dragons, Map 5. How many times have these teams clashed in this manner before? Too many to count, to be honest with you. And it's such a pinnacle, I think, for now for both of these franchises. Fans of both of these teams going to be holding their breath as we head into this fifth and final map. And what a ridiculous series we've been blessed with thus far.
Yeah. It's been fantastic. It's been back and forth. The map picks have been crucial from the Seoul Dynasty. The strategies that they've brought to the table have been excellent, and yet Shanghai are with them every step of the way. Bren, it feels simply wrong that we should have to send one of these teams home at this point. This is the lower bracket final. It's an elimination match from the playoffs. Both of these two teams took our grand finalist, the San Francisco Shock, to 5 maps when they played them earlier on in the playoffs, and now they are going to 5 maps. This entire tournament, this season, feels like it could have been won by any of these top 3 teams, and yet we are going to have to send one of them home in the bronze medal position. I feel wrong doing it, and yet it all comes down to this final map of Oasis.
Has to, you know, it has to happen. It all comes down to this one match. And I mean, 2020 has had so many highs, so many lows, and mainly lows, let's be real here, for a lot of people. And these players I mean, the only thing they're going to be gunning for is that #1 spot. And this is the obstacle, the hurdle that's in their place before they reach that grand finals presented by IBM. So it's so much on the line. These players are leaving it all out there. And it's all coming down to Oasis here. And of course the Dragons with their map pick here on control. It's shaping up to be an interesting one.
Yeah. If the Seoul Dynasty are able to win this final map, we are guaranteed, by the way, a repeat winner of the Overwatch League. We've got the San Francisco Shock and we've got Gesture and Prophet. And I mean, take a look at Gesture and how he's been stacking up against Stan 1. Because Stan 1 has actually been performing a very, very high level. Because they have specifically tailored their strategies to kind of ruin Gesture in whatever situation they possibly can. And yet he's still outputting crazy damage, crazy final blows when it comes to Dorado. Over the course of the entire series, Stan 1 has been incredible. But on Dorado there, Gesture was just playing his own game.
Look at the hook accuracy comparison as well, and the enemies hooked here. And this is the perfect stat to really highlight, I think, the difference between Gesture and how he plays the Roadhog. Because he will throw out the hook almost on cooldown. Every 8 seconds, you'll find him searching for a pick. And it's often, I think, the default style of how these teams have been playing Roadhog has been a lot more conservative. They want to hold the hook because as soon as you chuck that out, you give a window of opportunity for you to be blown up. And it's a small one, but these teams will take it. Yet Gesture plays this high risk, high reward, this almost flanking style sometimes. And it does pay off because he is the bait on a stick for this team. They jump on Gesture and they're able to punish it sometimes. But so far in this series, it's been so back and forth. The tailored strategies, the adaptations from both of these teams, they are the perfect match for one another. And it is sad, Josh. It is sad that we're going to be sending one of them home. This will be the culmination of the 2020 season for one of these teams. But ultimately, it is a competition. And competition is, you know, we wait and we distill it down until only one remains.
And this is really finding out who the best team in Asia has been in 2020. Your money would be on the Shanghai Dragons every single time, and yet the Seoul Dynasty have leveled up when it comes to the playoffs. Gesture and Prophet are so hungry for that repeat championship. You can feel it in the way that they play, in the way that they are elevating their own individual performance. And again, no substitutions, slugfest, head-to-head match on Oasis. This is everything you could possibly ask for. It almost seems like destiny that the Shanghai Dragons should make it, and yet the Overwatch League is not an anime. The Seoul Dynasty are here to disrupt all of that.
Well, we're heading into it. Your final map presented by IBM. The Seoul Dynasty versus the Shanghai Dragons. It is 2-2. These teams have been so back and forth. Our final two Asian teams as well, battling it out. And this is going to decide who will move forward into our grand finals presented by IBM. Lip on the Sombra.
Already a difference. Yeah, Lip on the Sombra and Prophet on the Farah as well. Prophet is going to be exposed to Diem in a lot of these angles, so he has to play very carefully.
You're going to see Prophet looking for these angles right now. He forces to relocate out, but not before Gesture goes down. That was Lip. With the damage boost applied to him, he may have got a hack off as well. Just to try and lock him down, but it means the Resurrect comes through anyway. Tobi brings him back into the fight, and so much damage being done. Prophet so accurate with these rockets. Void is going to be going down, and it's going to be the first capture now going to the Seoul Dynasty.
Seoul Dynasty running the hog and ball as well. Some say it's torture, I say it's a sensual delight to watch Gesture and Marvel on these two heroes. It's beautiful stuff. Gesture, he's been bionated though, ends up going down to Void. He doesn't really have that Sigma to be able to support him in this fight. Marvel instead disrupting everybody else. Prophet ends up trading. Takes out LeeJaeGon, but Diem finds that pick, and the EMP, it only catches Marvel.
Oh, that might just be enough. Well, not quite. Marvel still alive and still kicking.
Yeah, they just pocket him.
Yep,
they pocket him and clean up the team fight. I think you've got to change Lip here, to be honest. Lip has found very little value so far.
Yeah.
What other heroes does he play, though? You can't match the Farah. The Tracer isn't really Lip's speciality. He's just committed to it.
It's hard to match up, but Prophet's so good on the Farah as well. His fuel management just staying perfectly out of sight. I mean, you can't even switch realistically to a hit scan that would theoretically hard counter it because Prophet is that good at using his movement. And now he's rolling forwards, moving in. You see the nano boost being applied over here to Fit. Diem goes down, the Resurrect comes through, but Prophet's damage boosted up. Oh my goodness. 3 kills? Why not? And it's 70% and counting now, Josh, here in round number 1 of our final map.
Seoul Dynasty look like they have a much better plan. Their engagement is great. They understand how to sync all of these ultimates together, and Prophet, look at this from behind. Oh, it's so beautiful. Synced up with Gesture and Marvel, pushing them from the front. Prophet drops into the back. This is final fight territory already. Yeah, blink and you've missed it. Shanghai have not been in this round at all.
Ridiculous performance so far. Prophet has almost been untouched. The rocket accuracy is there. Fitz hunting for a kill. The mines going to be blocking them off at the choke point, but it looks like Shanghai Dragons already have positioning here, but not before Marvel falls. That was a hack up onto Marvel as well. He wasn't able to roll out of there. Still the hook. D-Mech comes through. It's going to be the self-destruct, and Gesture had nowhere to go but walk into the mines himself. It's not over just yet, though. The Shanghai Dragons can't rest too easily when Fitz is on the high ground, but eventually taken out as Diem just takes the fight. Coach gunning up onto the high ground. The overtime burns, but not for much longer. Shanghai Dragons flip the point over, but they've got a very, very big uphill battle now.
That's what we need to see from Diem. He has to be the star player here for the Dragons. His individual skill in the playoffs has just been insane. But the consistency has to be there. This is the most important moment for Shanghai. They can't lose here. So many people thought they were the best team in the Overwatch League coming into these playoffs. To go out in third would be devastating for them.
It really would.
Lip with an EMP. Oh, he really wants this. Individual hack onto creative. Stops the nano boost.
Yep. It's going to be difficult for him, but Izayaki goes down. That was Prophet, I believe, flanking on the left-hand side. Takes him out, but Gesture turns it. The nano boost applied as well. He's a force of nature just rolling through the opposition. 3 kills already. Seoul Dynasty, they cannot be touched right now. And they're going to be able to flip this point over. The overtime will start burning. And maybe, just maybe, Stand1 will roll through. He does keep the overtime still going, but hooked up. And he's going to be taking out the damage boost. The sleep onto LeeJaeGon just to keep him stationary on the point, and he will be removed as well. Round 1, going to the Seoul Dynasty here with a much better game plan to lead this in. And Josh, I just want to remind you as well, this Seoul Dynasty run, they are going through the lower bracket here right from the get-go when they got to the Final 4. This is something that the San Francisco Shock did last year with their playoff run. It is so difficult to do. Seoul Dynasty had to play back-to-back games with only a 20-minute break before they played this. If they are able to upset the Shanghai Dragons here, and we are 1 round away, history will be made automatically.
Yeah, this has been special stuff coming out from Seoul. Take a look at this replay as well. This was Gesture. He got slept up. He has the nano boost available. He is distracting all of Shanghai. Shanghai only want to follow up on the EMP. That's all they want in their little lives. And instead, Gesture makes them pay for every single inch they take on the map. A 3K there in the round. Prophet now over on the Hanzo instead of the Pharah. Absolutely no shenanigans here on Oasis University. Double sniper versus double sniper. Prophet versus Diem on very different heroes, very different roles, but the power players for both teams need to deliver now. Last chance saloon for the Shanghai Dragons.
You can feel the pressure just radiating from both these teams. You can tell Shanghai Dragons, one slip up, and that's going to be their 2020 season. He went from the favorites, and it could be over here. Gesture. Again, these hooks so on point, time and time again. The accretion comes from the side as Void tries to take it off angle, but again, Gesture, nobody stopping him, nobody punishing him. The Shanghai Dragons try and take positioning by rotating around, but it's not enough. And it's going to be another early capture for Seoul. Just accruing up the percentages now.
On Bdosin, the Shanghai Dragons were so disciplined with how they punished Gesture and moved away from him as he went on these flanks. Now, all chaos is reigning supreme. It's the 5th map. These players are tired. They're not as coordinated as they were at the beginning of the series, and Gesture is getting away with murder. Those 2 hooks were they just bust everything open onto Lip and then onto Izayaki. Now Izayaki's gone over to the Zen. Discord Orb is going to be permanently onto Gesture here.
Gesture just holding position in the Dragon Strike! Locks him in. The kills will flood in after it. The nano boost onto Gesture as well. He's still hunting for more kills. Misses the hook there onto Izayaki. They should be able to collect that one as well. No, Izayaki just about evades out of there. And whilst that was going on, LeeJaeGon took the fight straight to Tobi. Took him out. A big pickoff. It means that Seoul Dynasty have to back off and play a little bit more defensive.
Yeah, they can't afford to play those forward positions because the res just simply isn't there. but it's not going to make that much difference. Shanghai have still got to execute onto the point here. Bob to engage, and here we go. Shanghai, this is a crucial teamfight win.
They have to win this one. The Gravitic Flux is going to be answered on either side here. And the trade's coming through now as Void sends his into the low ground. Does get the kill onto Creative. The grass just eats up the damage, but is it going to be enough? Fitz sends in Bob into the backline, and he is ruining it. Tobi trying to avenge his sniper ally, but still in control. Gesture with the hook as well. Into the damage boost, into the nano, and the whole hog is ready and waiting. He just needs the go button, waiting for the hook. Nothing will cancel him. Another hook, the body block comes through, but he is tearing them to pieces. Gesture moments away, 97% to Seoul Dynasty. They might just be about to do it. Are they really going to upset the Shanghai Dragons here and now? Map 5, taking them to the distance, and the Seoul Dynasty just seconds away. They've done it. They will be moving forward into the grand finals presented by IBM. They will be taking their shot against the San Francisco Shock in our finals tomorrow. And the Shanghai Dragons are going home.
What a match. What an insane performance from both teams. A disappointing end, to be sure, for Shanghai. They got dominated on Oasis, but you can just feel the flex coming out from Seoul. This is what this organization promised right from the beginning of the Overwatch League.
This is unreal.
They represent Korea, the mecca of esports. With 3 former Overwatch champions on their roster, they go through to the finals to face the San Francisco Shock. And my God, what a performance from Prophet and Gesture. Prophet at the beginning, Gesture closing out. The way that this team plays with their ultimate, empowering Gesture, he dominated Oasis.
Such a unique style. And for Seoul Dynasty, a team that, let's be real, across the board, our analysts, ourselves included, had the lowest expectations for this team out of any in the Final Four. We did not think they were going to be going this far. We did not think they were going to be standing up to the rest of the teams, but they have proven us all wrong. A wonderful showcase of skills from top to bottom, from strategies as well as that. This is not just a fluke, this is clear preparation, and this is the playoff narrative still running alive now for Prophet and Gesture. Coming alive in the playoff scenario as it was almost preordained, Josh. They end up knocking out the Shanghai Dragons.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's a little fortunate that this meta is so similar to the 2018 meta that saw them win a championship back then. But at the same time, there are magnificently significant differences between the two as well. And the sheer fact that Prophet and Gesture are able to maintain their elite level that they've had since the middle of 2017, I mean, that is absurd. Brent, I just want to remind our viewers as well, the only tournament that Prophet and Gesture have not won since starting their journey in professional Overwatch was the 2019 Overwatch League. Every other tournament that Prophet and Gesture have entered, they have won. How
with the exception of the tournaments earlier today, but you're talking about the grand scheme, the big tournaments at the end of the year,
big tournaments, big overall tournaments. They were undefeated once they actually were playing in them. And this is a return to form. This is them putting forwards their ticket into GOAT status. And, Brent, I don't think you can talk about GOATs without talking about Prophet.
Yep, and Prophet will be our player of the match, of course. I mean, who else but Prophet? This guy, I mean, it feels a little bit disingenuous to say that he carried his team on his back because it was a team effort from the Seoul Dynasty, but it wouldn't be possible without the individual performances of this player. He does it all on the Ashe, the Hanzo, the Tracer. He makes it happen. Whatever role you need him to fill, he will do it with excellency. And we saw that today against the Shanghai Dragons. Just an absolute unstoppable force of nature that he is. His Hanzo play really just... today, I think, and as well as that yesterday, was cementing him in my mind right here, right now, as a potential GOAT candidate. This puts him one step forward now.
Yeah, it's not just the Hanzo as well, right? It's the Pharah that you're seeing on your screen at the moment. It's the Tracer whenever he has to pull that out as well. He's so flexible and so clutch. you can definitely give credit to Gesture towards the end of this match. He was superb once the Shanghai Dragons coordination fell down a little bit. But Prophet is always there for this team, and he was always there throughout this entire match. I mean, look at these statistics as well. 11.3 final blows per 10 minutes. That's crazy good. And only 6 deaths per 10 as well. This man is a monster. You put him in a match that really matters, in a moment that's crucial. And I can't think of another player that I would prefer to have in that moment, rather than Prophet.
They turn up so often. I mean, it's such an unfortunate ending for the Shanghai Dragons, because we do need to, address it for a moment at least. This team was the favorites for a lot of people. They were the number one seed coming in out of the APAC region, and coming into the playoffs, I think a lot of people expected them, with the advantage that they had in terms of they didn't have to quarantine like the North American teams. They could just essentially remain in their home setup and just practice and hone their skill to get up to a decent level for the Final Four. And they were expected to be the favorites coming in, I think, across the board. And for them to be knocked out here by Seoul, it's not the ending that this organization wanted. You think back to this, the beginning of the Shanghai Dragons, the Norton 40 season, with players like Fearless who were playing on that roster. They were part of that Norton 40 journey. To be denied here, it is quite sad in a way. You've got to reflect on that. But ultimately, it makes ways for this narrative now that we have, that is Seoul Dynasty. Just coming straight at it again here in the, well, I say again, but the core of this team again trying to go for it. And it will mean, Josh, that we have a repeat winner no matter what now in our grand final.
Yes. And that, to me, is absolutely absurd. I mean, you take a look at the bracket and the journey that these teams have been on, and I have to agree with you. It is disappointing for the Shanghai Dragons. It's heartbreaking for them. But Seoul, what a run through the bottom of this bracket.
It's insane.
It's been tight all over the place, though. Every time the Seoul Dynasty and the Shock and the Dragons have battled against each other, 5 maps every time. And, Bren, this just spells something beautiful about to happen in our grand finals. It's destined to be incredible. In the past, our grand finals, the final match of the season, it's often been a blowout. In 2018, the London Spitfire, Gesture Prophet, they dominated. In 2019, the San Francisco Shock, Super Choyobin, they dominated. This year, I would be flabbergasted if one of these teams is able to adapt day to day and comes out in a dominant victory. I think it's going to the wire.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly hope so. I mean, this has the makings of one of the best grand finals presented by IBM that we've ever had in Overwatch League history. And I don't want to try and overhype this, but I'm excited for it. And we actually have an interview as well. Danny Lim is right there waiting with Prophet. Take it away, Danny.
Bren and Josh, thank you very much. What is up, everybody? Danny Lim here for another interview. And right now we have Prophet from Seoul Dynasty. Everybody, virtual round of applause. 다 같이 박수 한번 칩시다, 여러분. 프로토 선수 안녕하세요. 인사 한번 해주세요.
안녕하세요. 서울 다이너스티에서 DPS를 맡고 있는 프로핏이라고 합니다.
What a match, what an upset. Congratulations. That was such a big win. That was I really enjoyed watching the match. You did such an amazing job. Now, of course, you guys faced Shanghai Dragons multiple times, mainly in the May Melee finals and also the playoffs, for example. And of course, you guys did come up short. But today, the outcome was different. Seoul Dynasty won. You guys defeated the Dragons. How are you guys able to do it? 자, 짧게 말할게요. 상하이 드래곤즈와 많은 경기를 치르고 또 아쉽게 많은 또 패배를 겪고 난 후에 오늘은 결과가 달랐습니다. 서울 다이너스티가 드디어 상하이 드래곤즈를 이기게 되는데요. 프로비 선수 어떻게 해서 오늘 경기 승리하신 것 같습니까?
일단 저희가 수세 몰릴 때 항상 멘탈이 많이 나가가지고 역전하는 그림을 많이 못 보여드렸는데 이번에는 진짜 다 같이 팀원들끼리 멘탈을 잘 잡아서 상하이를 이길 수 있었던 것 같아요.
Right, so whenever the matches went to the distance, I feel like it was the mental problem. We really came up short because we couldn't totally focus and put a mentality in, and that's why we sort of came up short every time we were facing against the Shanghai Dragons. But like I said, Prophet says that today was different because they were able to focus, they were able to keep calm and really keep their mentality, and that was the key factor of them defeating the Dragons. And of course, Prophet, you were the 2018 Grand Finals MVP, and you and probably Gesture are sort of leading the Seoul Dynasty to the grand finals and into the final match for tomorrow. Prophet, what does it mean to represent Seoul in the grand finals? 프로비 선수 원래 2018년도 그랜드 파이널 MVP로서 또 어떻게 보면은 우승한 경험이 있는 선수로서 이번에 서울을 또 이렇게 마지막 결승전까지 끌고 잘 이렇게 팀을 끌고 오셨는데 이번 그랜드 파이널에서 서울과 또 한국을 대표해서 이렇게 결승전까지 올라오게 된 소감 한 말씀 부탁드릴게요.
그러니까 결승에 온 소감이죠. 짧게 말하면.
짧게 말하면은 지금 서울 팀으로 결승전까지 올라오게 된 소감, 기분이 어떠세요 지금 기분이?
일단 서울 다이너스티로 이적하자마자 바로 결승전에 오게 되어서 일단 그리고 또 2년 만에 다시 결승전에 왔으니까 꼭 2연속 우승을 해보고 싶네요.
Right, so it definitely really feels good. After moving, this was my first year moving to Seoul and just going up or coming all the way up here and going to the finals. It really does feel great, and I really do want to win the grand finals this year. This will be the second time winning it, so I will really work hard to get the 2 years of winning the Overwatch League. Alrighty, last question, Prophet. You guys will be facing up against the San Francisco Shock again for the last match of the grand finals. How are you going to win this time around? 자, 마지막 질문입니다. 프로핏 선수, 내일 경기 센쇼과의 경기가 한 번 더 있습니다. 프로핏 선수, 어떻게 하면 서울 다이너스티가 우승을 할 수 있을까요?
어제 센쇼과의 경기에서 엄청 한 끗 차로 졌다고 생각하기 때문에 그렇게 밀린다고 생각하지 않아서 오늘 이제 이긴 그 기운을 받아서 내일 꼭 쇼크를 꺾어볼 수 있도록 노력하겠습니다.
Right, so yesterday while we were playing against the San Francisco Shock, I really felt like we lost by a tad bit. We were really close, so I don't believe we're that much weaker than San Francisco Shock, and I do believe that we have a really good chance of winning. So with today's win, I'm going to utilize this energy and ultimately take the win for the grand finals. All right, Prophet, thank you so much, everybody. That is it for me. Anywhere, Watchpoint post show coming up very, very soon. Stick around.